So, how does a central bank, one of those super stable, kind of boring institutions, suddenly make billions of euros in pure profit? Well, today we are unpacking the absolutely incredible story of how the Banque de France pulled off one of the smartest financial moves I've seen in a long, long time. And it involves a whole lot of gold and a very clever secret swap.
Let's just start with the number because honestly, it's staggering. 12.8 billion euros. That's the capital gain that France managed to lock in. I mean, a single move like this completely changed the central bank's entire financial year. It's wild.
And that really gets us to the core mystery we're going to solve today, right? If they didn't mine it, if they didn't discover some long-lost treasure, where in the world did all this money come from? How do you generate that kind of wealth from an asset you already have? Well, the answer is this brilliant mix of timing, logistics, and of course, strategy.
So let's peel back the layers of what some are calling France's 13 billion euro gold trick. Now, it sounds like something out of a magic show, but I promise you, it's just incredibly clever central banking at its finest.
I mean, just look at the scale of this financial turnaround. It is massive. In 2024, the Banque de France was staring down a net loss of almost 8 billion euros. Just 1 year later, bam, they're posting an 8.1 billion euro profit. And the main reason for that incredible swing was this gold operation. It didn't just help a little bit, it fundamentally rewrote their entire financial story for the year. So the big question is, how on earth did they do it? Well, it all comes down to what we can call the Great Gold Swap. The real genius here wasn't in getting more gold, but in transforming the gold they already owned.
And here it is. This is the secret sauce. The entire operation was built on a really simple idea. Sell off your old, kind of outdated gold bars that were sitting in a vault in New York, and at the same time, buy brand new, high-quality bars back in Europe. It was basically a huge upgrade, and it was perfectly timed to cash in on record-high gold prices.
This table really lays it all out for us. We're talking about 129 metric tons of gold. That is a lot of gold. The whole thing happened over about 6 months, selling off the gold from the vaults of the New York Fed and bringing the new equivalent amount home to their legendary vault in Paris, La Souterraine. And while they did all that, they booked that massive 12.8 billion euro gain. Now, the official reason for doing all of this wasn't just about the profit, of course not. The bank presented it as a totally necessary upgrade and, as we're about to see, a logistical masterstroke. So, why even bother upgrading? Well, a lot of the gold France had sitting in New York was old, like from the 1920s old. It didn't meet the modern London Good Delivery Standard, or LGD. And you really need to know that LGD is the international benchmark for trading gold. If your gold isn't up to that standard, it's just way less useful in the modern financial system. And in their own words, the bank was just, upgrading its holdings. It sounds like pretty routine housekeeping, doesn't it? But trust me, the timing and the way they pulled it off were anything but routine. And here's where the whole move becomes truly brilliant. Can you imagine physically moving 129 tons of gold across the Atlantic Ocean? It would be a logistical nightmare. You're talking about huge security risks and just millions and millions in shipping and insurance costs. So by selling it right where it was and buying new gold closer to home, they completely sidestepped that whole problem. They got better gold, they got it at home, and they avoided a massive logistical headache. Genius. But, there's more to this story than just smart accounting and logistics. You can't separate a move this big from what's happening on the world stage. What we're really seeing here is part of a global trend, this idea of building up golden fortresses. Now, the governor of the bank insisted this was not a political move. And, okay, that might be the official line, but it's pretty much impossible to ignore the context here. Central banks all over the world, Germany, Turkey, you name it, have been bringing their gold reserves home for years now. France is just the latest and maybe the most successful to finish the job. So why is everybody doing this? Well, there are 3 really big drivers. First, sanctions risk. When Russia's central bank assets were frozen back in 2022, that sent a shockwave around the world. Nations suddenly realized that assets they held in other countries could just become inaccessible. Second is de-dollarization. That slow, steady move by countries to rely less on the US dollar. And that makes physical gold in your own vault a much more attractive, neutral alternative. And finally, you have market stability. In a true global crisis, having your physical gold right at home gives you the ultimate form of security. And the result for France? Well,
All 2,437 tons of its gold reserves, which, by the way, is the fourth largest in the world, are now held in Paris. That is 100% national control over their ultimate safe haven asset.
Okay, so let's wrap this all up by taking a look at that big profit number, how people see it, and what a move like this really signals for the future of global finance. So let's tackle the big question. Was this profit real? Well, it kind of depends on how you look at it. From a financial accounting point of view, yes, absolutely. It was a capital gain that plugged a massive hole in their balance sheet. But a more critical view would argue that since they replaced the gold ounce for ounce, it's really just an accounting trick. It's a revaluation of an asset they already had. They aren't technically any wealthier, they just updated the value of their gold to the current, much higher market price.
And get this, it turns out they're not even done yet. The source material reveals that the Banque de France is still holding on to another 134 tons of this older, non-standard gold right there in its Paris vault. So the plan is to upgrade this remaining stock by 2028. And what does that tell us? It strongly suggests that we could see more of these super smart, perfectly timed market operations in the next few years. They've got a successful playbook now, and it looks like they're ready to run it again. And that leaves us with a final, really big picture question. France's golden pivot was a masterclass in financial strategy, no doubt about it. But it's also a signal. As more and more countries pull their ultimate reserves back to their own shores, what does that tell us about their confidence in the future of our interconnected global financial system? It seems like that old saying really holds true. In times of uncertainty, there's just no place like home.